Dad on a mission was safely delivered to Penrith Station by the West Coast Main Line and others yesterday, so we picked him up from there last night, and now we're off up the Honister Pass in order to go down the HONISTER SLATE MINE. I'm attempting a bit of freehand videography, so sorry it's jerky here, and not a proper drive up the HONISTER Pass video. But anyway, we've made it. It's quite a place to get to up here, so we've brought our spending money to have lunch up here in the cafe before we go down the mine. The mine's at the head of HONISTER Pass and produces iconic Westmoreland green slate from the last working slate mine in England. Slate's been hewn here since 1643, although it is suspected that slate was extracted during Roman times and then later by the monks of Furness Abbey. This is very difficult and unforgiving terrain up here, with Keswick being at least half a day's walk away. So in ancient times it was a very poor area, with just a few farms in the surrounding area. The men and the boys who worked these mines would walk up from Keswick very early on a Monday morning and then live rough in the mountains for a week or more. Most of them built small 4 by 3 metre stone bothies to keep the driving wind and rain out. Just imagine the weather up here in the mountains. Most had fireplaces for a bit of warmth, but it was certainly a very hard life. They'd live in the bothy, work long days in the mines until their food supply ran out, so typically about 2 weeks at a time. Mining continued here since the mid-1600s, pausing only when the men went off to war, up until 1989, when it became much more economical to import slate from elsewhere in the world. The facility here was largely deserted until a local businessman reopened the mine to produce a small quantity of roofing slate, but also augment the site by making it much more of an adventurer's paradise, with England's first via ferrata, a permanent and protected climbing path, which is incredibly challenging, I'm told, both physically and mentally, and includes, for example, the route that the original miners' track took up the steep outer incline of the Fleetwith Pike. There's also a 1 kilometre zip line somewhere here, and also far more sedate activities for those walking or driving the HONISTER Pass. Today, for example, we've come up for a mine tour. But before that, a spot of lunch in the cafe and a little look round some of the current slate processing equipment. Then it's into the room where the tour starts to get our hard hats on and board a bus, which is going to take us up to the mine entrance. There are several mine shafts here, so this is the family-friendly, shorter, easier route. But there are other options for more hardcore explorers.
Where that fella is in that red anorak there, and it goes in just above there. That's the other mine to it. So you've got to go up all them steps to get there, and look at where it is all the way down there. So if you don't like heights, you don't think it's where you're going to...
The tour itself was about an hour, and obviously it's completely remote from the facilities down at the visitor centre. The visitor centre itself is completely accessible, but the mine, by its very nature, isn't, and it's not really capable of being adapted to enable access for all. For example, there are at least 40-odd uneven steps on the tour, so unfortunately wheelchair users cannot access the tour, and those with mobility issues might need to bring along some extra equipment or some helpers, for example, though the info online does suggest that the mine's very happy to try and advise and accommodate as many people as possible. Children under 3 aren't permitted, though personally I'd say they need to be very stable on their feet and mindful of moving around, so probably better for school-age children. If you've got older children, 10 or older, and at least 1.3 metres tall, then you can even climb inside the mine. The same minimums, I believe, apply to the Via Ferrata. There's a classic and an extreme route, or they did at least apply when we visited. You'll need to check the website, obviously, for more up-to-date info.
Right, I'm looking for another bar.
Our tour was led by one of the ex-miners here. What a fantastic guide he was, full of... I was about to say a mine of information, but that's terribly embarrassing. So, absolutely full of fantastic information, all about the mine throughout the ages and his experiences of it. I think he was very close to retiring, though, but he'd been spending quite a lot of time training the newer tour guides, so that was great. So it was a mixture of live guiding, question answers and so on, mixed in with multimedia presentations and sound and vision and lights and so on. So really a really thoughtful, wonderful mix. Oh, and of course some live action with unwilling volunteers and embarrassing parents.
Right, and I'm going to hit that on the end like that. Not with a little hammer like this, but a 7-pound hammer. There, you've got the blooming drill stuck. Right. 8 hours a day you would do that. You'd go a bit deaf. So I won't do it anymore. And after about 18 months you'd go a bit funny in the head. You're not funny in the head now, are you, Liam? No, that's all right then. So you can go. I'll let you go because I wouldn't like to make you deaf.
Anyway, here are just a few little snippets of the tour to whet your appetite. Okay, that's us back up to the surface. Thanks so much for following along. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe if it was useful. And meanwhile, we're off to the gift shop for some cute slate souvenirs, and then it's back down the Honister Pass. In the next episode, Dad on a Mission will have headed home. My friend and her 2 boys will have arrived, and we'll be wandering around the town centre and trying to get all the boys to do a lakeside hike. Wish us luck. Then after that, we'll be off to Kong indoor climbing and a quick tour of the Borrowdale Caravan and Motorhome Club site. So please do hit that bell icon if any of those are of interest. But until then, it's bye for now.